Before wildlife works come with a project, we had no respect for the trees.
Not all these poachers or charcoal burners are stupid. Some have gone to school, but the only problem, they don't have another means to keep up their families.
You know, people are told not to poach, not to collect firewood in these areas, yet it's community land in many cases. And Wildlife Works came in to try and create a model whereby community were fully engaged and to try and get communities on board to see the benefits of protecting wildlife habitat.
As we grew up, things started changing. The weather pattern started changing. So those people who could get some money from their kids, they enjoyed. But others who could not get any money from their children, they had to look for survival. They could go poaching, they could go charcoal burning, and it became a way of life. Until when the government came in and said, no charcoal burning, no poaching. Then we started to looking at how are we going to survive?
The traditional model was if you had a piece of land with wildlife, you'd go and build a lodge on it, you'd employ a certain number of people in that lodge. Tourists would hopefully come and you have your photographic safaris as your main income. And Wildlife Works came in to try and create a model whereby community were fully engaged, to try and create as much employment as possible. And to try and get communities on board to see the benefits of protecting wildlife habitat.
There are trees here. If you cut them, they believe the rain will not be coming. So before Wildlife Works come with a project, we had no respect for the trees. But they came and told us, let the trees stand and we give you some money. And which is easier, let the trees stand and get money, okay. Or fail it and you miss money.
In 2009, we got involved with a UN initiative called RED, which is reducing emissions through deforestation and degradation. And it was the start of what became our carbon project. We spent a lot of time, first of all, explaining the carbon project, what it is, and then expanding what we knew into these other ranches to bring us to the Kasigau corridor project that we have today. It was a pioneering project. It was to see if it was successful and to see if we could get income for protecting the forest that is already existing.
Wildlife Works came when the area was dry, and when they told people, okay, there's a lot of heat, let the trees stand, and we'll give you some money. There was a little bit of resistance, because scientifically they will come and map the area and do the scientific, recording whatnot, and then the people could say, okay, they were asking two questions: whose plot are you marking? Two. How many bags of air are you sending? So they were put on a wall. They had to explain no bags could be transported, and we are marking for the survey, but the land is yours.
We basically put thousands of GPS points all over Rukinga, and we then went and measured a set radius to see what trees and what species we had in there. And then we had to find out the data on all these trees to work out how much carbon was in them. Once we had these figures, we knew, okay, on Rukinga we've got this many tons of carbon. 1 ton of carbon is equivalent to 1 carbon credit. As a layman term, if you take a tree, dry it out completely, get rid of all the water, half of the weight of a tree is the carbon that's left in there. So that is carbon that's stored from the atmosphere and safely stored away in a tree. Once you cut that tree down, you burn it, that carbon is released back into the atmosphere, and one of the biggest emissions we have causing greenhouse gases is actually deforestation. The forest is being destroyed, it's then being burnt to clear for grazing. All those emissions are going back into the air, and it's probably significantly more than all the motor cars in the world put together. So everyone thinks of cars, factories, they all contribute to this, but deforestation is one of the major greenhouse emissions. So to try and avoid that, we are looking at a way of protecting forests so it's not cut down and we are still storing carbon within those trees and also within the soil.
It's a curse. Charcoal burning is a curse. Because we people, inhabitants here, we used to do slash and burn when you're expanding your farm. Just get a little bit charcoal for your use. They do, at least we tried, okay, there are commercial centers coming up, they demand tree. So we do selective cutting of trees. And we sell to the people to get some sort of an income. Very pole. But now these people come from outside. We have people from Kilifi, we have people from Kwale, and they bring a lot of lorries here, and they burn. And you see the same person burning. When I became chief, I saw those people burning charcoal, and the children are still burning charcoal. Which tells me that there's nothing they're getting from that, because a gemstone digger will come out with a fair gemstone, and then he will forget going back there because he'll open up a shop, maybe educate his children, and get he gets his return. But charcoal, they don't get anything.
So every year we get given a certain number of credits to sell based on the entire project in the forest and the carbon stock we have. So we have to go and find buyers for these carbon credits. Once we sell those credits, and the price of a carbon credit varies tremendously on whether you're selling 1 million tons or whether you're selling, some people only want to offset their car. So the scalability is huge. But the price varies tremendously, but the aim is to try and sell all our carbon credits every year. Now, the income from those carbon credits, 1/3 of it goes directly to the landowners, who are the group communities who own the land. It's their land after all, and without it we wouldn't have the forest to protect, so 1/3 goes directly to them. 1/3 goes directly to Wildlife Works, and we basically have the majority of the overheads. It's running our ranger forces, our aircraft, our vehicles, and all the other expenses fall to Wildlife Works. Any balance left over in profit goes directly to the communities immediately surrounding the project area. That is to really engage the community and let them see the benefit of protecting such a large area of land. And so we implement thousands of bursaries primarily for secondary school kids. So that allows a wider variety of kids to go through the education process. We've also supported tertiary education, university funds, and we've actually had volunteers who've been through our schooling program who are actually now working back at Wildlife Works.
Kumenibadilisha pakubwa. Kwanza, nilipata masomo. Pili, masomo yenye sikutarajia ningepata kwa sababu ya hali ya familia yangu. Mwaka 2012, kwa sababu ya ahadi waliokuwa wameniwekea, wakanipeleka chuo kikuu, Kenyatta University Main Campus hapo Nairobi. Nikaenda kusomea somo la mazingira, Environmental Science, Bachelor's in Environmental Science. Wakati nasoma, nikabakia kuwa msimamizi wa hiki kitengo cha field samplers. Kuanzia wakati huo hadi sasa, mimi naweza sema kuja ama kuwepo kwa mradi kumenibadilisha pakubwa. Endapo mradi usingekuja, hali ya maisha kwangu isingekuwa nzuri vile. Pengine ningeishia kuwa mwindaji ama mchoma makaa kama waliotutangulia hapo nyuma.
My journey to becoming a pilot started when I was actually young, at the age of 13, when I lost my dad and mom. My dad and mom were just subsistence farmer, and on top of that, my dad used to be a poacher and a charcoal burner, so he used to burn charcoals and poach wildlife for food to provide for us. And abruptly, when I lost my dad and killed by buffalo, that changed my passion towards my life. I just didn't want to live that life of becoming a poacher and just wanted to make something new. I started helping at Wildlife Works from 2009 to 2013. I got a job at Wildlife Works in between for 2 years before going back to college through sponsorship by Wildlife Works again, and spent 3 years in Eldoret doing aeronautical engineering, and finished my engineering course before heading back to Europe, where I gained my training as a gyrocopter pilot.
Gyrocopters are a fantastic tool for wildlife surveillance in the fact that they are an efficient, lightweight, and fuel-efficient aircraft. So we're able to fly more hours than most people can do or afford to cover a bigger area and report what we see to the ground teams. You do feel inspired seeing the things that we see from the air over the project area. Not many people have heard of this little corner of Kenya, and the things I get to see on a daily basis, you know, you get to see elephants so relaxed, they're sleeping on their side or rolling in the mud, elephants and lions just completely chilled out. You only usually see that inside big name national parks, your Masai Maras, your Samburus, but this little corner of Tsavo outside the national park that no one's ever heard of, and only 10 years ago was devastated with poaching, that's really inspiring to see.
Ranger work actually is not an easy job. It's a calling, I'm telling you, it's a calling.
In 2011, 2012, there was a huge spike in commercial poaching, mainly ivory. So we had to change how we operated significantly. All our rangers are community rangers, and they're all selected from the local community immediately surrounding the project area. So we partnered with KWS, and we've been trying to address the poaching, the commercial poaching aspect, as well as the bushmeat poaching.
Ranger work actually is not an easy job. It's a calling, I'm telling you, it's a calling. What of when you confront with armed guys outside in the bush? It is dangerous. So it requires a lot of training, it requires a lot of knowledge, especially on maneuvering in the bush. We have very good people from the local community who have been living here for so many years, who knows how to operate in the bush. They're the good trackers we have around. So you can use something like technology, then things can work out very well out. Not all these poachers or charcoal burners are stupid. Some have gone to school, but the only problem, they don't have another means to keep up their family. So they have to go to the bush to get something for their family. The poachers, most of them, they're in my team. And they're operating even now. And they are doing good.
Kabla nianze kazi ya Rangers, mimi nilikuwa mwindaji wa haramu. Hiyo time niliwahi kukimbizwa na askari hapa Taita Ranch. Nilikuwa nimeenda kukata hizi poles za miti. So wakafukuzana na mimi, askari wakafukuzana na mimi. Lakini sasa kwa sababu niliona hawa askari wakinishika, nitakuwa nimevunja sheria, ndio nikaamua niende mbio zaidi mpaka nijiokoe. So nilipoenda mbio zaidi, shoka nimeangusha, panga nikaangusha, mpaka maji ya kunywa nikaacha. Nikaweza kutoroka hivyo hivyo. Ukienda ukiwinda unaweza pata mnyama mkubwa, saa nyingine ukauza ukapata kama 3,000, 4,000. So nikaona ni kazi tu ninaweza kufanya, lakini baadaye ilikuja kunikulia ngumu. Nikaamua kuacha. Ndio nikaja nikasikia kuna recruitment ya Rangers wanataka askari. Ndio nikajitokeza mara moja ili nije nipate kazi nifanye, niachane na ile kazi ya kuwinda wanyama, kukata miti. Kueleza kampuni kwamba mimi nikuwa mwindaji lazima nieleze, kwa sababu kampuni inatafuta watu ambao wana experience ya pori na wale wahalifu, ndio tupate kuwaleta pamoja wawache hiyo mawazo ya kuwinda. Hiyo ni kweli. Mimi nimeelezana kabisa kazi nataka nipewe, kwa sababu msiponipa kazi nitaingia Taita Range, nitaingia Tau Range na niende nikate miti.
So when you go into the bush and you see the thick terrain that the sanctuary actually has, you can see why it's so important having aircraft. It's a wall of vegetation. The rangers go out there, they can't see more than 20 feet in front of their faces, and we can tell them what they're missing or keep them out of trouble, or just try not to waste their time. I mean, these guys will go into an area looking for signs of poachers or where the elephants are to protect them, and they might be 20 kilometers in the other direction. So having a tool like this is a very affordable and safe way of doing that.
Ilikuwa ni tarehe 23 ndio tulikuwa patrol tu ya kawaida. Ndio tulipata hii giraffe na tukaangalia kutoka kwa juu, kuchukua picha. So after hapo nilipeana coordinate kwa ground team ambapo ilikuwa karibu. Ya, ukiona hii kama imeuliwa na simba, kwa sababu naona kama kuna kucha. Alafu wao jamani kama wamekuja after simba, naona kisu nikata hapa. Na pia pande ile nyingine, nimeona pia upande wa mkia wamekata. So naona kama kuna bomu iko karibu hapa. Naona kama wajamaa walisikia hii simba ikipambana na hii giraffe. Kwaona wakakuja.
So when I came here, I just made up my mind to niache hiyo mambo ya poaching ni decrease. At now tulifanya disnearing, tulifanya mambo mengi huku ndani, tulishika watu, tulipeleka watu ndani. Tumezuia saizi mambo ya poaching, tumezuia mambo illegal logging, saizi imekuwa at a decrease that I am so proud of. Right now I can say that right now environment yetu imebadilika sana kuliko mwanzo vile nilikuwa nimeingia hapa kazini.
If you imagine you're an elephant, you're in Tsavo East, you're sitting there comfortably, you want to go to Tsavo West. As it stands, you've got to cross the old railway, the new railway, go under the new pylons, go under the old pylons, go over the old existing oil pipeline, go over the new pipeline, and now you're through.
As for the devastation, that it gets to you after a while. We had the building of the standard gauge railway, which was completed last year, and seeing the effect on the ecosystem is ongoingly devastating. Tsavo East lost close to 300 elephants between September and November in 2017, just because they couldn't cross the road. They did not die of dehydration, but it was starvation. So there was water in Tsavo East, but no food. But on this side of the SGR on the highway, we got a little bit of rain, and the elephants on this side of the road were happy and fat, and we didn't lose a single one through natural causes. It gets to you when you know that elephant, if it just walked 2 kilometers across that railway and across that road, it'd be safe.
My name is Daniel Munyao. I work for Wildlife Works as a factory manager, and my main job is to make sure the factory has enough job every day, and also to make the client's deadline. Currently now we have an order of one of our clients who is in US called Greater Good. So we are doing all the cutting here, and after we cut, we distribute them to the tailors. And our monthly capacity for basic t-shirt is 5,000 units. So it depends, like this one we are making like 3,600, and this will take us a month because it's a bit technical.
Nilipofika hapa naweza pata ujuzi zaidi. Mashine zile za moto nilikuwa sijui kukanyaga, nikajua kukanyaga mashine za moto. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa ni changamoto kwangu, kwa sababu sijafanya EPZ na ndio EPZ ya kwanza. Nguo za kule mtaani unakanyaga inaenda, lakini hapa yetu iko na quality control.
Imenisaidia, imenifanikisha maishani, maana nilikuja hapa Maungu nikiwa sina lolote, lakini imenisaidia mpaka sasa nimenunua plot na nimejenga.
So familia nyingi ukiziangalia zimejaribu kuwa sawa, kwa sababu community ya Maungu imefanywa kuwa mazingira yake ni mazuri na wildlife works.
Conservation isn't cheap. Conservation comes at a great price, but the asset that Kenya has in its wildlife and its forest is invaluable. We've got to get, and I think primarily the youth involved, so that they're aware of the severity of the problem and how they can help. Whether it's this project, whether it's KWS, whether it's another organisation, doesn't matter. The aim should be the same, and that is to protect the wildlife, protect the habitat of what we have today.
It's definitely crucial to think of everything all as one. Without the forests, people aren't going to survive. If it's not now, it's in 10, 15 years' time when it's all gone and we're all scratching our heads, looking around and wondering what on earth we did with it all.
Mimi nilikuwa nilikuwa napenda nature sana. So nilikuwa nataka nikuwe environmental activist katika community yangu. Ndio at least nikikuwa nitakuwa nakuza familia yangu katika nikiwaeleza kwa nini tunafaa kuwa na miti, tunafaa kuwalinda hawa wanyama. Ndio at least generation yetu yenye inakuja, at least wataona hawa wanyama na wataweza kufurahia. Hii environment vile iko sasa, tukiendelea kuiekeza hivyo vile tunaendelea kuiekeza saa hizi, itakuwa much better, watu wengi watasoma, vitu nyingi zitafanyika katika hii environment ya Rukinga.
As long as we can keep this story going and keep showing people this wonder that is here and this success, because this whole project really is a success. And you can see it. It's something you can see, feel and touch. And if we can show that to people and share that with people, then this place does have a future and potentially could grow and sustain itself.